Hello there, and welcome to the Dr. Elisa Show here on KUHS Denver, the stream. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're ready for something just a little bit different today. You know me hopefully from this show, and you know me from perhaps the Crystal Ball Hour. But if you haven't listened to the Crystal Ball Hour, I just need to tell you that today, as I was headed this way, I am technically challenged. There we go. Today, as I was heading this way, one of my crystal balls wanted to come with me. And so this show might be something completely different. You can chat with me today if you want on the Facebook site. Go to Facebook and either the Dr. Elisa Show or KUHS Denver or Henry Archuleta on Facebook. And I will be able to see your comments. Also, we do have the phone in the studio working today for text messages. Just text. I'm not answering any phone calls. And you can text me at 720-386-0513. So, welcome to my show. You know that my tagline is igniting a renaissance of spirit in you. And I'm hoping that every single show inspires you, ignites something new within you. I'm also hoping that in this crazy time that you leave feeling a little more peace, a little more centered, that you can do this, that this will work for you. The good news is, look at that, Facebook is working. You know, you're always sort of curious, and technology can always be just a little bit of an issue, but it looks like it is working today. So how are you? How are you today? Are you doing well? Are you ready to be a bit inspired? Are you ready to be challenged a little and to change a little? And yeah, I know, the year is challenging enough, isn't it? Before I go there, I just want to do a couple shout outs. My amazing sponsor, veteranspride.org. You know this group, right? They build shadow boxes for veterans. And the shadow boxes are a little bit expensive, and they're marvelous. If you go to veteranspride.org and do a small donation, any donation, you're helping a veteran. You're helping a veteran feel good about their service. And remember, it's my goal, and we're getting to the end of the year, that each of us is a philanthropist in some way this year. And you have tons of options out there, and one is veteranspride.org. I also sponsor my own shows, just so you know. So I'm going to do a shout out for me. If you are feeling the need for a bit of comfort, a bit of guidance, a bit of awareness, I am available. If you go to my website, elisarobin.com, or direct message me on Facebook, whatever you would like. We can set up a session. I use Zoom. And we can talk about what's going on for you now, and what is the year ahead looking like, and what is your soul calling to you for? What are you craving? We can set those up. I have lots of different packages, but you can also just do a half an hour or an hour with me. And all those prices are on my website. So I am here for you to help you through this time. So those are the commercials. Also, and I know you know that I finished my second book, so you can still get my first book on Amazon.com. I'm hoping to have my second book available by the end of the year, but we're still in editing mode, and that's the hardest part. But this one, The Way of the Well, is a really lovely first book and first novel, and I'm hoping that perhaps you'll buy that on Amazon. I have, or BarnesandNoble.com. I have read you pieces of it throughout, and you know that it is a spiritual romance, a spiritual journey with some minor love scenes towards the end. It teaches you how to use a glass of wine and a candle to crystal ball gaze, and so it's a romp and a laugh with some serious spiritual transformational work in it. And I'm not going to read it to you today. I've read you little bits on every single show. Maybe on the Crystal Ball Hour. I'll do that for you. What I want to start with today is we're talking about Phoenix Rising. And I talked about that last week on my show. In fact, it's been an ongoing theme here for a little bit. And I want to take a little bit of a different take on it, a different direction. Partly because what I'm hearing from my clients, what I'm seeing on social media, is people feeling like what they need to do is return to what they were. That they need to hang on tight and not let go, and then all of this will pass and they'll be the same person they are when they started. And that's not the myth. That's not the story of the Phoenix Rising. The Phoenix Rising says we become our best self, that we let go of. And oh my God, isn't that scary? We let go of. So here's what I want to do. I want to read you a little story that I wrote. It's one of my vlogs, and it's in my classes. And actually, I'm just going to tell you the story instead of reading it. And it's about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And I've used this image on this show a great deal, but I want to give you a flavor as if you are the caterpillar. So I want you to imagine that one day you've just been spending the day eating your favorite treats. If you're a caterpillar, it's delicious leaves. Otherwise, perhaps you were at your favorite restaurant or coffee shop, and you felt like life was good. You woke up that morning and didn't need change. And then suddenly, for some unknown reason, you think, I'm really tired of crawling around on all these legs. I would like to fly. And you think, fly? Where did that come from? I don't know how to fly. Flying is like, I don't know how to do that. Why would I do that? And yet, you somehow feel drawn, and you know it's the next step in your life, and you're scared. You're scared. Because, if you're going to go through a change or a transformation, you have to have several coffee or wine dates with your girlfriends or beer with your guy friends or whatever it is, and you've got to load your Kindle down with books, and you've got to prepare for these things. You can't just willy-nilly go into a transformation or a change. We all know that, right? But this urge is just so great, and you can't ignore it. And you sort of wander off, and you find yourself hanging upside down from a tree limb and weaving a web of safety around yourself, and you didn't even know you knew how to do that. But there you are. And then you snuggle in, right? You just snuggle in for, what's that poem? A long winter's nap. And you think, well, this isn't bad, right? I'm in my new home. This is comfy. It feels good. And then suddenly you drift into sleep. Well, not suddenly. You slowly drift into sleep, and you dream of swirling colors. You dream of ocean waves. You dream of rocking in water. You dream, and then you wake up. And you know time has passed, and something has changed because you feel different, but you're not sure how. So you have this need to get out of this cocoon, this chrysalis. You have this need, and you open it, and you poke your head out, and the world looks different. Where did all these colors come from? Where did these smells come from? Everything is different, and you break out, and you feel a breeze on your face that you've never felt before, and your body feels different. And where did these wings come from? These amazing appendages on your back. You shove yourself out of your cocoon, and you stretch these wings, and you take a few breaths, and you're terrified. And you take a few more breaths, and those wings spread, and you feel a little more confident and a little more assured, and you know that you've left something behind, and you are joyfully ready to fly, to be somebody different, to move into a new life, into a major transformation. And that is the Phoenix Rising. That's actually the story of what a caterpillar goes through, right? They turn into a liquid, and then they are reborn around their wings. So this is actually true. This actually does happen. and it can happen to you. This is actually what does happen. I am messing with a little technology here because, okay, I'm not going to look at the phone because it's not looking at me. If you want to chat with me, I would love to get a response in the Facebook side. Does that sound like you? Is that where you are? Is that this fear you're having? Is that what's happening to you with COVID? Is that the entire, oh my gosh, I want to be somebody different and I don't know how to be somebody different? Is that what this is about? And I think it is for so many of us. So today, I want to encourage you on a couple different levels to go into that cocoon and to let go of the anger and the fear that has been driving so many of us for almost a year now. It's been so long. And I want us to take a few steps in that direction. That's my goal. I'm checking Facebook, see if anybody is chatting with me here. Not sure. Let's see. And it would be the best way to chat with me since I can see it. I can see any of you on Facebook. This is really great. So what do we want to do? How are we going to do this? How are we going to change together? And I talked about it some on my last show. I talked about seeing the world through the eyes of love and seeing the world through the eyes of hope, and how profoundly scary that can be. How powerful, but how scary. And I want to tell you something that somebody, one of my clients, said to me, oh wow, you have it so together. And I just laughed, because of course I don't have it so together. I get as terrified as anyone else. I've just learned in my life that courage is not about letting fear go. Courage is about facing fear with inner grace. But yes, I'm afraid, but I can be elegant in my pursuit of my future. And that includes going deeper into my fears, because through my fear, on the other side, there's the gift. There's the rebirth. And in fact, astrologically, this is the time for a rebirth. This is the time for us to be exploring, as we're burning to ash and we're coming into that rebirth, who is it I want to be? And what I want to say is, who we should want to be on the other side is not who we were when this started. How do we do that? So a couple things. One of them is definitely I'm sorry, I'm trying to unlock the phone in here just so I can, oh, I did, so I can see you if you text me, because it sort of did something weird there. So I'm just going to watch messages and texts, because you can also text me now that I've got the phone up and going. Or not. Okay. So I brought my crystal ball with me today because my spirits said there was something important they had to say to you, and that was about owning our fears, owning our reality, being our true selves, feeling like this was the time in our life that we really needed more than anything. More than anything. To dig deep and to be who we are. So those of you who've not seen the Crystal Ball Hour, this is actually I brought my black crystal ball with me. It's leaded crystal, it's heavy, I love it, and it's a pure black. And what it helps me channel, because that's what I do, is I'm channeling my guides, your guides, anybody's guides who show up, and often people who've passed who have wisdom for us, is it helps me focus and center. And what my guides said to me today was to share some of my own fears, some of my own concerns and worries, and that how letting go and moving through those fears is helping me, because you need to hear that. Because when we know somebody else is struggling and moving through it, it's easier for us. It's so much easier for us. So I want you to imagine, just imagine this, right? That you've done a great job at seducing the future, manifesting what you want, and you're terrified. It shows up, and there you are, and you're scared. You manifested it, you wanted it, you craved it, you followed your soul's craving, you did everything everybody said about manifesting, and then what happened? It showed up. And if you are like me at all, double Aquarius, complete double Aquarius, a sun and moon Aquarius, you thought, the first thought you had was, I should run away. But it's COVID, and I can't. I'm not going to buy an airplane ticket to that distant island and walk on a beach and remind myself that freedom is better than anything. Maybe freedom is even better than love. But you can't do it, right? You can't do it. The urge is there, but you can't do that. You can't run and hide, not now. So what do you have to do? You face that fear. You face that thing, and you look and you realize that what you've craved your whole life is right there in front of you, and getting what you want is so scary, because you have to let go of being that person who desired and craved, or maybe feared, or maybe was angry, or maybe fit into your social group, or maybe fit into your family, or maybe simply fit into some greater tribe, that you were in alignment with the greater world around you, or your family, or your spiritual, religious, cultural beliefs. But what you've craved now is there, and you may have to change. It might align perfectly. But it's often when we follow that soul's craving, it's something different. Maybe it aligns with everything everyone wanted for you, but you have to now go from the person who's full of hurt or pain or sorrow or sadness or craving and desire to the person who's fulfilled and can focus on love instead of anger, instead of weariness, instead of hopelessness. And you might think that's easy, right? I mean, who wants to feel hopeless? Who wants to be sad? Who wants to be depressed? And yet depression and sadness and anger and all of those can become old friends. We can become our wound, and then we don't know what to do. There's if you've seen the movie Princess Bride, there's some point at the end where one character, the character who's been dealing with revenge, said, I've been in the revenge business for so long, and now that I've done that, I don't know what to do with my life. He was his wound for so long, and when he finished that task, who was he? That is what this year is asking of us. If you're no longer your wound, and boy, look at what this year brought out in us. Look at the wounds. Look at the wounds. Were you sad? Were you lonely? Were you scared? Were you alone? Were you fearful? Were you sure that the changes that were coming to the planet were horrible, and if you could just stop them, life would be better? What haunted you this year? Did you crave going backward in time? Did you go on Amazon Prime and look for a time machine to go backward? Did you reach out to your old loves, your old friends? Did you want to be somebody you used to be instead of realizing that person is gone, but you can bring forward the best of that person? I went through so much of that. So let me know, okay? Go into Facebook, because I'm seeming to not getting the phone to work, so you can't text me. I'm so sorry. Go into Facebook and tell me. How do you go? Hey, this is the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Denver. So how do you find me? You go to Facebook, you go to the Dr. Elisa Show, or you go to Henry Archuleta's page, and perhaps you go to KUHS Denver, and let's see if it's also streaming there, and post a question, or just let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Go in there and just give me a thumbs up, like yeah, I get it. I understand. I felt like that too, and I've been afraid to admit it. Because there are so many things we're ashamed of, aren't we? I think this world, this year, some of us have been ashamed of, being sad, or ashamed of wanting change or resisting change, or ashamed of growing older, or ashamed of not rising better, whatever it may be. Have people shamed you over not taking the pandemic seriously, and shamed you over taking it too seriously? This year has our emotions have run amok. It's basically what's happened. And the point of it is for us to see clearly that those fears and angers, those are illusions. They're blockades in our mind that have kept us from embracing the truth that we have created around us. And my guides are coming through very, very strong and saying that I can't use the phone, but are telling me very strongly that the shift in the energy is a month away. December 19th, 2 major planets move from Capricorn to Aquarius, Saturn and Jupiter. And we are being called. Come on, give me a thumbs up in the Facebook site, okay? Come on, just do that for us. We are being called to rise to who we truly can be, to our best selves. Like the phoenix being born, like the caterpillar coming out of that cocoon. But remember, that caterpillar is moved and urged to do it. I actually doubt the caterpillar one day goes, I'm feeling brave today. I think I shall be a butterfly. Those transformational changes skip our brain. They come from our heart. They come from our solar plexus. They come from our soul. That's where they come from. Are you being moved like that? Are you feeling it? Give me a thumbs up in the Facebook site. I'm checking. I've been feeling like that. I'm going to do some self-disclosure on the air, because I do think when I do just a tad bit of self-disclosure that it's easier for you to do so. So I spent the beginning of this year calling things to me, knowing how lonely I was, and knowing I did not want to go into winter alone. I was beginning of the year single, and I had to put my dog down. I think you know that, back in March, and loneliness was a major theme. Yes, I went hiking alone. Yes, I rode my bike. Yes, I went kayaking, and I'm good alone. And there's my reality. I'm good alone. I'm really good at this. I'm an Aquarius. I'm really, really good at this. So why should I worry? Why should I care? And yet I knew in my heart that that's also what I wanted. And then guess what? I'm not sharing a lot, but I will tell you some of the things that I craved started to show up. And I find myself terrified. A little less terrified than I was. Well, no, let's forget that. I'm terrified. Because I have to be somebody else. That somebody else is the real me. The real me. And it's fascinating how becoming the real us, finding our true self, is invigorating and enlightening and fulfilling and terrifying at the same time. You may have graduated from a college or a training program and felt like, yes, I accomplished it, and then went, oh my gosh, what do I do next? That is that beginning of that Phoenix rising. That's when we realize that we are no longer the student at some point, right? We're the master. In a PhD program, they'll often say to you, we don't want you to recapitulate knowledge anymore. That's what you do up until now. Now we want you to tell us, what are your thoughts? What do you see the direction of this going? Have you mastered the material, and have you moved forward with it? That's what life is asking us to do. And if that sounds too esoteric, let's get a little more practical, okay? So how do we own our fears? Because our fears tell us where our authentic self is. It's an amazing thing that when we're afraid of moving forward, it's that moving forward, that's where our authentic self is. I have to tell you, and I've said this before, it's an illusion that you're broken. It's an illusion that you're flawed, a flawed individual. Humans are flawed, period, because we're humans, but our souls are pure. And every day we have a chance to relive that. So what is pushing us in this direction, right? What's guiding us? And let me walk you through the hows, and let me walk you through the astrology. Okay? Just a bit of it. So if you look at what's burned to cinders in 2020, you will start to see the part of you that you probably want to let go of. If you look at what you're clinging to madly and wildly and fearfully and without thinking about it anymore, you need to take a deeper look at that, because it might be an illusion. Just saying. I'm just inviting you to take a deeper dive. It might be an illusion. The same way, do I have to hang on to, I am always free, and I'm always wild, and I'm never contained, and I can go it alone? Do I want to hang on to that forever? Is some of that true, and some of that an illusion? Do I want to look at the world through the eyes of love or through the eyes of fear? When I look at it through the eyes of fear, I see my illusions. And I've talked to you, I know, about your own charts and about your north and south nodes, and I've talked to you about that. But while that's helpful, you can also find this. You can find it by digging deep into yourself. So look at what's burned away and what you're actually relieved. You may not want to admit it, but maybe you're relieved. Maybe you're relieved that you're not rushing everywhere every single day and making sure your family has 15 events a week to attend. Maybe you're relieved that you're not in rush hour traffic. Maybe you're relieved that you have to look at your career differently, and your family differently, and your friends differently. Maybe you're relieved and at the same time afraid, and that's okay. So I want to walk you through an exercise, okay? And I think I've mentioned that I have a class I'll be offering in December, and I'll advertise it, and you can buy it online, and I'm going to walk you through the very first steps in this exercise. Because this is like a ritual. This is something you can do, something tangible that you can do to shift this energy for yourself. And I'd really love to see some comments on Facebook, to know you're out there. Even just let me know that my voice is so hypnotic you're not sure what I'm saying. You're just listening to the sound of my voice, which is okay. And I'm still trying to see if I can get a little bit of phone to work. Okay, I'm going to ignore the phone. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get a piece of paper and label it fire. And then get another piece of paper and label it ashes. And this is going to take you a little bit of time. You're not going to do this in an hour. Well, you might, but it could take a little bit of time. And on that piece of paper labeled fire, I want you to create a collage. It can be pictures from magazines. It can be pictures from your life. It can be words, quotes, poems, maybe items that you found that you just put on the piece of paper, drawings. words from songs, maybe a little bit of a melody that you write out in musical note. Everything that's burned away. Things that you might have to mourn, let's not get there yet. But the things that have burned away, the things that have disappeared for you. And recognize that some of these are the things that made you feel secure. We feel secure when we belong. We feel secure when we know. Even if we're wrong, we feel secure when we know. We feel secure when we're sure of our path. We're sure. And we're surrounded by others who are also sure. That's when we feel secure. But that's not always what our soul is telling us to do. So I want you on that piece of paper to fill it with all the things that have burned away. The good, the bad, the things you loved, the things you hated. And take all the time you need. Do this before my next show, all right? Come back with it, and next show we'll move forward. And then on the other paper, when you're done, I want you to depict your life now. Now, because now you've burned off and you're surrounded by the ashes. Now, what does your life look like now? The things you want to keep. The things that have emerged that you didn't realize you care about. And yes, perhaps some of the things you don't like, but those aren't in the ashes, right? Well, they might be, so go ahead and put those too. But not the things that are burned off. Those are gone. Some of them are gone. Let them go. What is in the ashes around you? What does life look like right now? Notice where there's anger and pain and fear, hopelessness, a lack of meaning. Notice, though, where you have learned or grown or changed or realized different things. Notice those and put that on that piece of paper. This is step one in this process. And when you're done with the two of those, then I want you to do a little ritual. Now understand, rituals are pretty easy, right? But they can be intense, but they don't have to be. And I want you to go somewhere safe where you can actually set something on fire. And I want you to burn that piece of paper that says fire on it. Very, very safely. Don't start. I live in Colorado. Please don't start any more fires. So this might be, little, maybe you rip it to little pieces and you burn it in a fireproof bowl in your kitchen, right? Or on your back patio or somewhere where it's very, very safe. You don't want a lot of flames. You just want to let go. And while you're doing that, I want you to note what you're letting go of and what you're happy to let go of. And I also want you to cry over what you're letting go of that you didn't realize you would have to let go of. It's been hard for so many of us. And the future still looks scary. The only way to move into that future is to let go of the past. And we know that. We hear that over and over and over again, right? We hear that it's just time. It's just time to let go. There's this old saying, right, that a ship is safe in harbor, but ships were not made to stay safe in harbor. They were made to sail in open waters. And I have to tell you that most of our souls were probably meant to sail in open waters. There's a reason we are told stories like the story of Icarus. You know that one? He wanted to escape an island and his father made him, maybe he just wanted to fly, a set of wings made of wax and warned him to not fly too close to the sun. And yet, the joy of flying was too much and the wings melted. And we're told those stories to warn us. Don't fly too high. Don't try that hard. Be aware of the dangers. And on a physical level, that's absolutely true. And on a soul level, It's not. Our soul wants to fly as high as it can. Physically, yeah, stay safe. Right? Stay safe. Wear a mask. Social distance. Do all those things. But let your soul fly free. Because that's what it wants to do. And it cannot fly too high. It's impossible for your soul to fly too high. It's only your fear that it will be injured. It's only your fear that your heart will be broken and never heal. Those are the only things that keep us from flying high and free and recognizing the potential of life, the potential of having empathy for others and compassion, and empathy for ourselves and compassion for ourselves. That's the only thing that stands between us and a life, right, that holds us up and emboldens us internally. The fear of letting go of who I have been. That's what hangs us up. Yeah, there's a little bit of fear of moving forward, but again, it's because we know it's a transformation. We know it's a change. So I want you to burn this piece of paper. Like I said, rip it into shreds and burn this piece of paper and let yourself experience emotions with it. This is not a mental exercise. Sometimes I have clients, and trust me, I'm like this, so I know. I'll give them a reading and I'll be talking about something deep, and they'll say, so that is as if I just recognized my emotions, right? Like, just get in touch with my emotions. And I have to say to them, no, this is like walking into the forest at night in a lightning storm and knowing that in the middle of the forest is the shaman, the old, powerful woman shaman, who has in her hands the answer to your quest to find your soul's purpose. That's a lot different than getting in touch with your feelings. It's profoundly different. And that's what this experience is doing for you. So let yourself cry and sob and laugh and sing as you go through this ritual of letting things burn. Let them go away. And then take this page of ashes. Well, before you do that, sit and say thank you to everything you released, because everything was a lesson. Everything was a gift. Say thank you. Take some deep breaths. And then take the paper with the page of ashes on it, and what I want you to do there is put it somewhere where you can see it. And feel free to keep this one changing and growing. Okay, so that's part one, right? I'm checking the Facebook page to see if you're there. Are you there out there? You are listening to the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Denver. And we are talking about change and transformation and rising like the phoenix through this time. And I'm going to take you to the next step. But before I do that, let's slip into a little astrology, okay? Let's slip in. And if you have a message for me, please go into Facebook. You can try the phone. It might be working. You can try texting me at 720-386-0513. You definitely can go into the Facebook and let me know how this is striking you, how this is working. Today's show's a little different, right? It's a combination of channeling and half the stuff coming out of my mouth is just, I'm channeling it out of my mouth. I also want you to know that I have a sense right now, because I'm going to lead you forward on the Phoenix journey, but before I do that, I have some guides coming through that are very, very strong, and I'm not sure they're my guides, so what I'm about to say might be for somebody listening, that that the spirit world right now is highly active. It was very active in October, simply the end of October, because the veil between the worlds is thin. But right now, the veil between the worlds is thin because there is so much fear and death on this planet. and we're universally connected through a similar fear. In fact, a few similar fears. It's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't matter which side of what you're on, right? It's fake, it's real. It's lies, it's truth, right? Our fears may be somewhere on that spectrum, but our fears are of the same messages, right? So a message may lean me left or right, or in or out, or up or down, but it's around the same notion. It's around the same issue. It's around the same core fear. Am I safe? Will I have meaning and purpose? Am I helpless? Here's our core fears. In fact, we know often that people, especially in senior residencies, they die. Why? Because they feel lonely or hopeless. They're so bored that they have no meaning and purpose in their life. We're afraid of those things. We're afraid of being useless in the world. We're afraid of aging out and having the world change around us, which, by the way, the world is changing around us. And sometimes we hang on so tightly to what it was. That's why we need teenagers, quite honestly, because it is the teenagers that help bring in new ideas and new notions and new experiences, new ways of thinking. And it is that part of us. That's what happens in a midlife crisis. It's no accident that often parents are having a midlife crisis when they have teenagers, because the teenagers are reminding them of all those cravings we had. We were going to change the world and save the world, or climb the mountain, or become something, and then we get to sort of a midlife area and we wonder, have I done it? We're seeing so many more people now with quarter life crises, and I've got a lot of those clients, and it's those show up in our chart, trust me. And if you are in that, let me know in the Facebook site, or send me a text. Quarter life crisis, 25 to 27. Midlife crisis, I don't know, counted 40 to 50. Are you having one? Are you realizing that that's what this year has brought on for you? There's a reason. There's a reason for that, because it's a time of change. And it's a good thing. Those crises are when we want to reemerge. And December 19th, Saturn and Jupiter go into Aquarius. You've been hearing me say, I know we're going to have a vaccine. Why? Because Saturn and Jupiter go into Aquarius on December 19th. The world shifts. What's been happening, if you can imagine a pendulum swinging, right? It swings, and what happens is it gets to one end, and some people grab onto it and say, no, don't go, don't swing anymore. And it goes, they lose it, and it swings to the other side. And those people grab it and say, no, don't swing, stay here. And everyone becomes desperate to hold it still. And yet life is never still. We're still in death. Life is never still. And I don't know why we are so afraid of that. I don't know what that is, because it's what gives us a future. It's what fills us. It's what we came here to do. It's what we came here to be. We came here to be joyfully and sometimes painfully and ecstatically and sometimes in deep despair, but alive. And all of those are what life is about, and all of those is what we've been primed for this year. And then in December, both sides let go of that pendulum. They can't grab it anymore. Life has moved on. But what we can do is be reborn. That's what we can do. This might be upsetting some of you. I don't know. You're very quiet out there. And if you're very quiet, I'm not really sure. If you're listening, if you're taking it in, or if instead of taking it in, you're just you're hypnotized. I got it. I've hypnotized you with my voice. So what's the next thing to do? So what are the guides? So that's a message from the guides, from your guides. I do have to tell you that there's been a guide coming through really, really strong through this entire show, and the message is for somebody out there whose name starts with an L, and it is about confusion in your house. And the message from your guide, I don't know who you are, I don't know why your guide is so strong, but if you are on some sort of soul journey that is terrifying and your name starts with an L, your guide wants you to know that you are not alone, and that at the darkest moment you are going to see the light. That keep yourself calm and as much as you can, and do the things that you're being told are like, this is what's good, but also follow your instincts, and that you're going to come through this. I have no idea who that's for. It's somebody who's watching, and probably somebody who's on Facebook. If that's you, could you let me know? Because channeling blindly is like sort of the weirdest thing. It's as if I have a room of thousands of you in front of me, and I'm channeling spirit guides, but I have nowhere to put it. So it'd be lovely to know if that's you. Okay. Here's the next step of this process of the Phoenix Rising that I want you to do. I want you to get a mirror. Any mirror. Go in front of your mirror. And I want you to now, you've burned the fire, you've burned this piece of paper, you acknowledge the fire. I want you to look in this mirror and see who you are. Now, I have to tell you, I experienced this year in a very interesting way. I felt like a snake coming out of an old skin. And in fact, my skin was so harsh. It was very funny, like almost cracked and hard, and I don't know, leathery, and it's smooth. It's like I cracked out. I came out and shed that old skin. And I'm looking in my closet lately, and of course there's things I haven't worn. I'm not an academic dean. I'm not going to high-end meetings. For a Zoom meeting, maybe I have a blazer on, maybe not. Life feels much more casual. But there are things I know that I probably won't wear again. And there are things I can't wait to wear. I'll be wearing them on the show, right? I couldn't kind of wait to I haven't worn this shirt. I'll be wearing some of my clothes I haven't worn in a while. But there are things that need to go away. I walked around my house and the same thing. I thought, these are knickknacks that I don't even know why I still have. These are things in my kitchen that I need to replace. I need new bowls or new pots or new something, because I'm cooking different. In fact, I'm cooking, which is like amazing. What are you now, as you look around you, realizing that was burned in the fire? That's not who I am. For those of you who lost everything in the fire, my heart goes out for you, and this is not what I'm talking about. Because if you lost everything in a fire, oh my gosh, my heart opens for you, and it's terrifying and hard, and I'm not going to tell you there's a silver lining. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to offer you support and say, let's find a way to walk forward. But for most of us, we haven't lost everything. But we should be ready to shed, to release, to let go. And so I want you to walk through that house, through your apartment, through your space, and say, what am I willing to let go of? Because as I release, and this is my pattern with people, the things that we let go of are the things that are not in symmetry with the life we want to create. We need to let go. And as we let go, as we subtract, we create space to seduce, to invite what we need into our life, what we truly crave into our life. And that is our next step. But we have to have space for it. And often holding on to old things makes us feel safe, makes us feel connected to our past. And I have to tell you, I'm wearing my dad's signet ring, and I'm wearing my dad's little gold bracelet. And he passed many years ago, and he's with me always. Often I can feel him in the studio with me. I can feel him when I'm doing readings, and whenever somebody reads for me, they can feel my father. But I don't have all his old jackets and his old hats and his old, I have his signet ring because it was a shared joke we had. We stole it from each other to wear it. It's a memory, and it's infused with him. So I'm not asking you to get rid of the things that you realize you're connected to. But I am saying it is time to let go of the things that simply fill your space and you don't even know why you have them. You don't even know. Put them in a box. You don't have to give them away. Put them in a box and put them somewhere else, in your basement, in a back room, in the back of a closet. And keep putting that sort of things in that box. And after several months, if you realize you don't miss them, and in fact, if you realize you enjoy the space around you, then don't bring them back out. And in that process, what is in the ashes? What are the things you realize now have become so important to you? Something you painted years ago, or a piece of jewelry somebody has given you, perhaps a song somebody used to sing to you, perhaps a book somebody wrote for you or signed for you or gave you, perhaps just the voices of friends, and you realize you want to be on the phone more. You don't want to just text, you want to hear their voice. Voices are so powerful. I have been known to fall in love with a voice, and in fact, I might be doing that in my life right now, falling in love with a voice. That's not my own. It's not a good thing to fall in love with your own voice. Can I just say that? But it's a lovely thing to fall in love with the voices of others around you. Those that lead you towards joy and compassion and empathy and love. And that's where my guides want me to take you. I have about 3 minutes to talk to you. And as I check, I am so hoping that you have not responded because you're hypnotized or you're taking notes. Perhaps you're taking notes. But what I want to say to you is that forcing our will on situations, forcing it. And trust me, I'm very good at that, right? That's what I do. By will alone have I accomplished some things, but that's not what we're being asked to do. We are being asked in this time to open our hearts, and to let life evolve. That's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to drop our fears just for a moment, to hold somebody's hand, to look at the world around us through the eyes of hope, to look at the stranger on the street through the eyes of love and hope, to remember that who we are now came from other people helping our people, right? My family, all of our families, I mean, right, you got 3 choices about how you got to the U.S. You're a native Aboriginal person, you crossed the Siberian Bridge maybe, and you got here. You were here. You immigrated here. You were brought here, possibly as a slave. You weren't, but your family was. We all came here on the shoulders of others. We all became who we are because somebody looked at someone in our life with eyes of compassion. Maybe it was our family that looked on each of us with the eyes of hope and compassion. Maybe it was our parents who said, you can be the one. You can be the one. Go. And what my guides want me to say to you, and what your guides are trying to say to you today, is let yourself turn into that liquid. Feel your wings grow. Break out of that cocoon and see the world for the beautiful place it is, full of potential and opportunities and joy. See the possibilities. See the future, not just your old past and your old fears. All right, I hope I have ignited something within you. I hope I have inspired something within you. You know where to find me, right? Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Denver, right? You can find me on Facebook, Dr. Elisa Show. You can find me on Facebook at Elisa Robin. You can find me at elisarobin.com. You can just email me, elisarobin@msn.com, and schedule a reading and a session, and we can work through this together, and I can hold your hand as you shift, as you move, as you let yourself be burned and rise from those ashes, or turn into a liquid and burst out, your wings strong and ready to fly. I'm here to help you. And you know what? So are your guides. So are the spirits around you. So is the world around you. And with that, I invite you to have a wonderful rest of your week, and to catch me on my next show, to email, to chat with me, to let me know how you're doing, and have a wonderful, blessed, and safe week. Take care.